So not many people know that my middle name is Kyung. My full name is Lee Kyung Hong, or I guess more appropriately, Hong Lee Kyung, because that's my Korean name. You see, my grandmother, who is my father's mother, according to Korean tradition, names their grandchildren. And she gave me this name because it means flower of soul. And I grew up in Connecticut, and I didn't really think much about being Korean. I mean, I was surrounded by other Korean kids of poor graduate students. And, and we were all Korean, and we all ate Korean food, and we all did really Korean things. So it was all good. And then I moved to Ohio in Cleveland, and that's when things got interesting. So I was the only Korean kid in my class. There were lots of Chinese kids, or a couple Japanese kids here and there. I was the only Korean. And it was my duty, it was my moral obligation to make sure people knew what it meant to be Korean and what Korean culture was all about. And so in second grade, I remember, in my school, there weren't any cafeterias like, lunch ladies serving things. Instead, people brought their lunch from home. What that meant was the lunch ladies, instead of serving food, were collecting trash. So I brought my lunch to school, and of course my mom packed my lunch, typical Korean meal. And my friends look at my food and they're like, "What is that?" And I say, "Oh, it's seaweed. It's roasted seaweed. It's salted and sesame oil in it. It's really good." And they go, "Wait, what? Seaweed? Like from the ocean?" And I go, "Yeah, from the ocean." And then I felt so bold as to say, "Would you like to try some?" And they were like, "Okay." Because, when you're a kid, you exchange cookies all the time, seaweed. So they try it, and they go, "Ew, this is so gross. Why do you eat this? This is disgusting." And then by this point, the lunch lady had come around with her big trash can, and they go, "Here, take this out. It's disgusting. It's seaweed." And the lunch lady looks at it and goes, "Ugh." And so they throw it away. So I kind of learned at an early age that there are certain things about my Koreanism, I guess, that I had to kind of hide. And in a lot of ways, I did feel like an outsider. I never really felt like I was part of the in crowd. I actually also remember at that age really wanting to be named something like Jessica or Jennifer, some kind of. I had this obsession with J names. I don't know why it was, but I just really wanted to fit in any way that I could. Well, the summer between second grade and third grade, my mom tells me that we're going to Korea for 6 months. So by this point, my mom was a grad student in the nursing school at Case Western. And she needed to collect some data, and happened to be in Seoul. And my extended family also happened to be in Seoul, which is the capital of South Korea. And so my mom asked me, well, actually, no, she didn't ask me, she told me. we're going to Korea. And I was really nervous about it, because, Korean isn't really, I'm not really fluent in Korean. I mean, I can get by with conversations and, being polite. But when it came to actually, speaking things or, teasing with friends, I was nowhere near that level. But, on the other hand, all my cousins were there, and I had never really met my cousins before, and so I thought, hey, this could be really exciting. I could finally get to meet my cousins, I get to play with them, I don't know, we could, get our Barbie dolls together and, stuff. So I was really excited. So I get there, and my parents decided to enroll me into the public Korean school, which is just down the road. It's within walking distance, as is all Korean schools. And so I remember my first day of school, I was really excited to go. I was also really, really nervous. I mean, I was pretty much the only American kid there. And so in one sense, I felt like, hey, you know what? This is my time to shine. This is my time. Because well, I was kind of unique. I was this American kid, but I was also Korean, and everybody else here is Korean. and I'll finally get to fit in. I'll just look like everybody else, and I can just blend in, and I can finally just be a normal kid for once. So I had my little book bag. I remember it was like purple, it had jasmine on it. I remember my little indoor shoes that we had to wear in school, because you weren't allowed to wear like tennis shoes and stuff in school. They were called shilewa. And so I had my new pair of those, and I had my new recorder, and I was all ready to go. So I show up, and the morning of, I had rehearsed with my mom multiple times, like how to introduce myself to the class, because I figured that my teacher would be like, oh, and we have a new kid in our class, let's introduce her, and so I rehearsed this thing over and over, and it was just this little speech, just to kind of say, you know, hi, my name is whatever. So I get up to the classroom, it's the first day of school, and my teacher, of course, says, oh, and we have a new student today. Hong Li-kyung, you want to come up and say, you know, hi to the class? And so I did. I went up and I stood very nervously and said very slowly and methodically, hi, my name is Hong Li-kyung, and I am from America. And thank you for welcoming me in school. I said it perfectly. I was like, yes. And then I sit down. And by the way, the desks there are this really old kind of wooden desk, and they're conjoined. And so, you know, there's 2 chairs to a desk. And the kid sitting next to me takes a look at me and goes, ew! And everybody just laughs. So, of course, that was a wonderful start to 3rd grade. And while I was there, kids would ask me these questions like, so why is your name so weird? Hong Li-kyung? Like, that's weird. Like, what is that? What does that mean? And I never thought that my name was weird, but I guess come to think of it, I mean, I wasn't named like Suji, or I wasn't named like, I don't know, some like common girl's Korean name. Because I didn't know. I just thought, you know, what's in a name? What's in a Korean name? And they would ask me things like, so do you eat like hamburgers at home every night? No, I'm Korean. I eat Korean food. They'll ask me things like, oh, so I like that new shirt you wore. Is that from America? No, I bought it here. Heck, I even bought glasses in Korea just so I could fit in. There's this one particular instance that, for some reason, just sticks to me even to this day. So every week, each of us classrooms has different school duties that we have to do, kind of like, I guess, a way to teach character or responsibility into kids. And so my classroom, for that week, we were responsible for mopping the floors of the school. And you know, we rotated the duties every week, and so it happened to be that I was the one for that week who was part of the cleaning crew, and we were going to mop the floors. And so, for whatever reason, in my little 3rd grade mind, I thought, you know, if I do a really good job mopping these floors, maybe people will start liking me. All right, that's what I'm gonna do. So then I get the mop out, and I, you know, get all the cleaning supplies, and I get the bucket, and you know, I'm like mopping this thing, you know, I'm just rip-roaring, I'm ready to go. Well, the floor is about the same color as this floor here. It's a very dark brown, and so, unfortunately, it's also the same color as dirt, and so turns out it was really hard to tell whether I actually cleaned the floors well. So, you know, I found myself scrubbing away, and then I look up, and everybody else is gone, and I thought, wait, what? What just happened? And then I realized that everybody else decided to take 2 seconds to do their duties, and were off playing and, you know, doing what 3rd graders normally do. But, you know, I still thought to myself, no, I'm going to mop these floors really, really well. And people are just going to be so impressed, and I'm going to finally fit in. So, you know, I take the mop, and I get to the stairs, and the stairs are an equally horrible brown, dirt-colored, you know, tile. And I take the mop, and I'm mopping away, and a 6th grader walks up the stairs, and I can tell he's a 6th grader because A, he's a lot taller than me, And B, he has these like special shoes and special uniform that 6th graders get to wear. So I knew he was a big guy. And he walks up and he takes one look at me, and he spits on the ground, right in front of where I had just mopped, like literally 2 feet. And then he looks at me and kind of grins and keeps walking up the stairs. And the anger and frustration and shock that flooded over me was so overwhelming. And I remember wanting to scream at him, to yell at him, to curse him out, to say the B word. But because, that's the only curse word I knew, the B word. And it wasn't even the B word, it was quote unquote the B word. But I didn't, because I didn't know any Korean curse words. So I just stood there staring at him in this shock and wanting to scream so badly, but I just couldn't. So anyway, that was an eventful 3rd grade. And, and school got out and the 6 months were up, and I eventually moved back to America and went back to school here. And I remember feeling very, I kind of had this like existential crisis. I mean, I felt like an outsider in America. And I felt like an outsider in Korea too. But why is that? I mean, I look the same, I act the same. Maybe I speak a different language, but I'm still me. What's wrong with me? And I had this moment of just wanting to really not be Korean anymore. I stopped going to the Korean church that my parents went to. I stopped, hanging out with Korean kids. I basically didn't really want anything to do with being Korean. But after a lot of time and reflection and kind of going back to Korea a couple times here and there, I've kind of come to realize that, being Korean and being American, it's not really a binary thing. You really have to kind of look inside yourself and find where you are and find where your cultures can mix. Thanks.